right? So what is 150 bucks a barrel, 775 or even $200 a barrel oil do to our economy and our equity prices? Because it's going to affect us, right? My next guest has some thoughts on this. Please welcome in Keith Fitz-Gerald to the show. Keith, I got to take a deep breath because I can't read that much without breathing, number one. But number two is, boy, you know, I'll just lead in with this and I'll let you take the show. We have three things, basically, three silos of things we can trade: commodities, interest rate sensitive things like, you know, bonds and currencies, and then the last one, obviously, equities. In my 35-year career, we have maybe one always kicking off somehow. One of them's busy. Rarely do we have two both really, really busy. But this time, all three are really, really busy, and there's nowhere to hide. Over to you.
Well, not that you handed me anything simple here, big guy. Goodness gracious. All right, so here's my take on this, right, is no good deed goes unpunished. We were all born in the middle of the night. It just didn't happen to be last night. So the president's latest move on oil is welcome, but it's a little too late, too late. We've got a solution in front of us. He's not going to touch it because, God forbid, we do the right thing as opposed to the political thing, which leaves investors with a conundrum. How do you get ahead? To me, you hold your nose, you stick your foot in the pool, and you go swimming anyway. And so it's going to be companies that are going to survive. Diversification doesn't work when everything goes down at once. And Wall Street doesn't want you to know that nasty little secret. So they're busy buying even as the selling accelerates. To me, it's companies like Apple, it's Microsoft, it's the Chevrons of the world. It's the companies 2 to 5 years out that are going to make this world go round, war or not.
Where do you stand on energy?
Well, other than the fact that I paid $5.09 for a gallon to fill up my motorcycles and about fell off when I did it, you know, the fact of the matter is we've got to own it. Dinosaur juice is going to be with us for the next 30 years, whether we like it or not, even if there's a perfectly fungible EV substitute tomorrow. That's what the boffins inside the Beltway don't understand. They can't push us down the road, to your point, before the nation harbors the load. There's not enough chargers, there's not enough acceptance, and at $120,000 a rig or $70,000 a rig, who the heck in their right mind is going to buy an EV anyway? Most Americans can't afford to do it. So what's got to happen is we've got to step up. We've got to see $30,000 EVs, $20,000 EVs. You've got to make it really affordable and reference the consumer. Forget giving these big corporations the incentives. Hand the money over like Japan did when they wanted to make the switch directly to the consumers. Then the manufacturers are aligned with actually making stuff that works at a price point, guess what, that most consumers can afford.
I mean, you're right, and I'm going to just put a period on that, is that, you know, make the sale to the consumer. Make the sale, please, because right now, last I checked, maybe I could be wrong, we're not beating down the doors of these EV, electrical vehicles showrooms, right? We're not beating down the doors to solar panel showrooms. We're not beating down the doors to windmill showrooms. Make the sale to the American consumer, and if it's right for this consumer and it makes sense, guess what? Americans vote with their feet and their wallet every single time. But right now we're being pushed.
That's how capitalism works.
Right.
That's how capitalism works. If the technology is really as good as they say it is, people are going to be beaten down the door to get access to it. But subsidizing these big corporations for everybody to finance vehicles at $70, $80, $90, $100,000 makes money for the bank. It doesn't do the consumer a whole lot of good. Data I saw this morning suggests the average American family may pay as much as $2,000 more for gasoline this year. Forget about the president's ban finally, but still, $2,000, that is a significant hit in the wallet.
I'm going to coin a new term. You know, we have virtue signaling. It's like virtue throwing, right? Look at my Tesla. It's $100 grand. And oh, by the way, the battery is going to be very, very pollutant, and it's going to be hard to replace. And you get electricity from coal. Never mind that. But we keep throwing these virtue signals out there with really nothing to back it up, and that's what I get irritated about. The American consumer, look, we want clean air, we want clean water. Everybody does. But when you take a look at, say, the Mississippi River, which we all know about, that is the cleanest it's been, Keith, in 100 years. And it's got 1% of the pollutants that it did in 1980. Now, is that from government beating people up over the head? Or is that just good people trying to do good things? I think it's the second one.
I do too, and that's the key here. You know, again, when we look at the markets, we're coming into the close. The computers are duking it out right now. This is really a high-stakes game of poker, and it's the algorithms that are at fault. So as an investor, as a consumer, we can look at that. We can find those companies, the products we use every single day, like, for example, this iPhone or the watch that I'm wearing. You know, that tells me millions of people are going to want that stuff. Inflation stinks. We're changing the way we buy food, medicine. My breakfast costs 60% more than it did a couple years ago, but I have not heard a single person yet given up their computer, giving up their iPhone, giving up any of the other things that matter. So if you go with the old Peter Lynch thing, stick with what you know, stick with what's going to work. That's where these companies are.
You know what? That's great advice. I really appreciate you saying that. That's something we all could adhere to. Thank you very much. He's always got his head on his shoulders. Keith Fitz-Gerald coming to us from Seattle. Really appreciate it. Thanks again.
Hi, it's Keith here. Thanks for checking out today's highlight clip. What'd you think? Did I make sense? Is there something you'd like to add? Make sure you leave a comment down below, and of course, click subscribe to keep up right here on YouTube, or sign up for the email newsletter at the link below. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram for my real-time thoughts on markets, analysis, and a whole lot more.